James, I'm not sure what happened, but I can't hear you.
There you are. There I am.
Hey, I couldn't hear you there for a minute.
We've been going on 1 minute and 15 seconds now, and my computer all of a sudden just went blank. The whole screen and everything.
God.
Everything died on me.
I hate it when that happens.
I hate it when that happens. And then get my mic way over here. Let me get that up here so we hear more. Now then.
All right.
This is what they say. Technical difficulties.
That's right.
So all right. So forget all the other stuff because everybody else is going, a minute, there's nothing there. So I don't know if anybody pop in or not now, Bobby. So we'll get started from here. All right. Welcome to the Professor of Perseverance podcast. I'm Dr. James Perdue, the Professor of Perseverance himself, here to share another story of how people have overcome their adversity, have kicked the adversity, the challenge in the teeth, and have persevered through their trials and tribulations. Today, our guest, most people haven't heard a doctor tell them you shouldn't be alive. What? You should not be alive is what the doctor told our guest. Her personal story and journey of rebuilding her health to become a vibrant athlete to inspire other people. Well, thank you for coming to the show, Bobbi.
Hey. Kahler, you got it. Yeah.
There we go. I was trying to make sure I got it right. Bobbi Kahler.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in today, and I love your radio voice again.
Oh, well, thank you. And thanks for having me as a guest. I've been looking forward to this.
This has been in the makings here for a week now, so I'm glad it's finally worked out. So I don't know if you can tell, but I got my sporting stuff behind me, and I used to be what's called an athlete now, and now I'm just one of those that armchair quarterback things that just sit and make all my decisions from the living room.
Yeah, so, I noticed all the sports stuff behind you.
So anytime I get an athlete, former athlete, still an athlete, I'm all for it and everything. All right, Bobbi, again, thank you for being here. Go ahead and open up, share your story of what happened here that, again, most people, they never hear from a doctor, you shouldn't be alive. So go ahead and share your story on why the doctor said that to you.
Yeah. Well, it's officially, I guess you'd say it started on March 6th of 2003, but because that was the day I collapsed. And by that, I mean, like I couldn't even raise my arm to brush my teeth anymore. But in truth, it probably started 10 months before that. And it was this gradual decline, and I didn't pay attention to it. And by the time I collapsed, I was well into it. And it was a 10-year journey back to health. And along the way, when I finally got to the doctor in Chicago, who I never forget the day, I was sitting in his office and we had done some tests, and he looked at me and he looked at the test results and he looked back at me and he said, we're going to have to redo these tests. And I'm like, why? And he said, because if these are true, you shouldn't be alive. And we redid the test and they came back exactly the same. And like I said, that was 4 years into it, but there were a lot of bumps along the way. And I'll never forget, like we were 6 months into it. And this was when we lived in Oregon. And it was a doctor at OHSU, and he was an amazing doctor. And he told me, he's like, Bobbi, based on our early research, he said, like only 3% of people who have this will experience a full recovery. And James, I don't know if I'm just like slow or if I was like really committed to, because I was always a runner. I was always an athlete. And my first words back to him, I said, well, okay, but when can I go for a run again? And he's like, you might have to accept that your days of being an athlete are over. And I thought, no, I've always been an athlete. I have to be an athlete. And I want to level set. It's not like I was a professional, but it's just a part of who I am. And throughout the whole journey, like I say, the 10 years back to full health and strength, that's what I held on to was there's a way. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's a way that I will be an athlete again. And yeah, it was a journey.
And what was the diagnosis?
Well, it took us it took us a while to get a definitive one, but it was we had started a business and I wasn't taking care of my health. So this is it's hard to accept this. But I allowed what they think is that I had a bad case of mono that I didn't take care of. I just pushed through it because it's like, oh, that's what you do. And so it affected my adrenal glands. And adrenal glands, I don't remember the numbers for sure, but like your numbers are supposed to be between 300 and 500 to be normal. And there's adrenal fatigue, there's adrenal exhaustion, and there's adrenal collapse. And by the time I had mine tested, I was at 15 out of, and you're supposed to be at least 3 to 500. And so it was a complete and utter adrenal collapse. And what happens is your other systems of your body will start to shut down. Like I lost a third of my hair. It was all kinds of problems started. So it kind of has a snowball effect. And it was hard. And it was really hard to accept that, I had in some ways done that to myself by not taking care of myself. And that was a bitter pill to swallow.
And that is a bitter pill, a hard pill to swallow when
Yeah.
you know that it's because of you
Yeah.
not maintaining, taking care of, giving yourself the personal attention that you need. And you know as well as I do, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help take care of anyone else. You can't take care of your new business that you're wanting to start. And so that's the thing. So I think a lot of us been in that same situation that we
Yeah.
have not done a good as job as we could or have, but hopefully we turn that around before we get to an adrenaline crash of 15.
That's right. That's right. And it was funny too, because you think, well, I don't have time for that. Like, because you're starting a business and it's stressful as it is. And you think, well, I don't have time to go for a run, or I don't have time to really fix myself a nice dinner. And the truth of the matter is, you don't have time not to, because it's a big hole to climb out of.
And we sit around when we tell we don't have time. If we dig around in what we're doing all day long, there's plenty of time.
There's time.
We just neglect ourselves. But isn't it amazing? We want to help other people.
That's
We
right.
want to do what we can to do everybody else to help them, but we will neglect ourselves. And again, if we're not physically healthy enough, we can't help anyone.
Can't
So,
help anyone.
hey,
Nope.
Jan Fansler, she came in and she says, "Hi, Bobby," and she also says that you're still an athlete. So,
Thank
and
you.
high school friend of mine here, Jay Wright, come in saying good afternoon. And Nancy, here you go, Nancy. I'm glad you're here. She texted me and didn't know she'd make it today. So she's here as well. So thank you for
Nice.
coming in, all through. Hey, if any of y'all have a question for Bobby, just go ahead and leave it and we'll get going like up here. So, all right. Now, when hearing you shouldn't be alive and then forget, your athlete days are over with, those are really, like, again, I hate to keep using the same thing, a hard pill to swallow. Because I remember when I first heard it, I would never walk again and
Yeah.
possibly not move from my neck down. And they even told me at the age of 19 to put me in a nursing home, that I wouldn't get any better to do
Wow.
anything. And so to hearing those things, and I think I really believe with everything I got in all my heart and everything, that people need to be participating in sports, because there's a lot of life lessons you can learn. You can learn to be a good winner, a good loser, how to work as a team, how to self promote and do your thing as well as you're working for a team, and how to be determined, how to, if you lose, how to figure out how to win. So, how was you when you first heard, you shouldn't be alive, and then to forget this athlete, you may have to forget it. I mean, what made you, when you said, I'm going to figure out a way to be in that, what do you think gave you that desire to continue on?
Well, I think part of it was maybe I'm a little stubborn, but I just thought the answer's somewhere. I just have to find the answer. And it's funny because I'll never forget the day when the first doctor said, only 3% of people will experience a recovery. And we went home, and at the time it was he's now my husband. He was a boyfriend at the time. And he said to me, he's like, Bobby, he said, I know this is so unfair. And I said, fair, not fair, it doesn't really matter. It is. And this is what it is now. And I said, the only thing that matters now is how do we find the way to be in that 3%? Because if 3% have figured out the answer, then the answer is somewhere. And I think that was just something that really helped. And it's something that I use in all areas of my life. And I kind of call it like learn your way forward in that, okay, so what is it that I need to do? What's one action that I could take? And an action could be like talk to a new doctor or talk to other people. It could be doing some research, but what is one action that I can take that allows me to kind of get in the game, if you will, so I can kind of assess, okay, what's going on. And that led, when that doctor said it, shortly after that, he's like, Bobbi, Western medicine there's limited amounts that we can do for you. And I found a naturopath. This was in Portland, Oregon. And she told me, and this was 18 months after that. And she told me, she's like, I've seen this before and I can help you. It'll take at least 2 years, but I can help you. And it was like, it's worth a try. I mean, nothing's going to happen if I don't try. So I think really, James, the big thing for me is there's got to be something I can try. Because if there's something I can try, then I have hope. And that's just important to me.
And hope is a big, big deal.
Yeah.
Big. And again, when you lose that hope, that's when you start losing everything.
Yeah.
And so when she says, gives you that, it could take up to 2 years. Hey, what's stopping us? Let's go. I mean,
let's go.
Yeah, exactly. What's going to happen in the next 2 years if I don't try?
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to make progress unless I do something, unless I try. And I'm going to be 2 years older either way, is what I thought at the time. So I might as well give it the best shot I could.
And I like that your quote there, lean your way forward. What came up with? How did you come up with that?
So the learn your way forward is
learn. Learn.
Yeah,
learn your way forward, not lean.
Yeah.
Learn your way forward.
Okay.
I need to learn to read better.
Hey, lean might sound a little better, but I'm not clever enough for that. But it's just something that, I mean, at this point in my career, I've coached over 3,000 people. And one of the things I've noticed is that people who are successful, people who have the drive to keep kind of elevating their game, no matter what that game might be, they're always learning. And I think that, and that's where I have 3 steps for learn your way forward. And it's act. So take an action, assess, how did it work? Did it work the way I expected it to? What did I learn from it? Is there something else I need to try? And then the third one is to adapt. And by doing that, we're in this continual process of kind of improving ourselves and working on our own game, if you will. And so that's just something that, and it also goes with my master's degree. I'm very much, my master's degree is in coaching, leadership, and adult learning. That's not the official title, but those are the 3 big components. So it's like, how do we learn to, and make progress towards where we want to go? So that's where that kind of came from.
And the 3-step formula is what again? It's
act. So take an action. Assess, how did it work? What did I learn? And then adapt. Is there anything I need to change in what I'm doing?
And again, you have your own way of figuring that out. That formula you put together, but it's not anything different than when you fail at something you set a goal for. Now, what's the next step? Do you adjust, change, adapt, or do you go full speed ahead and hope that something changes? So,
that's right. And you know what I love about that too, James, is I shared this with you before we went on. I love cross-country skiing. And one of the things my husband tells me, because I think he was born on skis. He's a fabulous skier, and I'm not, but I love it. And when I'm going down a hill, part of skiing is falling. And you can either frame that as failing or you can frame it as learning. And so he's always telling me, if you're not falling once in a while, you may not be pushing yourself hard enough. And now he wisely waits until I get myself out of the snowbank before he says that to me.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. That's the same thing. Well, it's the same thing when you're practicing. When I was coaching a basketball team, our 7th and 8th grade basketball team, and you see we got a state championship up there. But
wow.
We tell them when we're doing basketball drills that if you don't make a mistake and goof up, you don't know how to learn to put it in fast speed action. I mean, anybody can sit and dribble it and go, look what I'm doing, coach. I haven't lost control of. Well, do it 100 miles an hour without making a mistake.
That's right.
So yeah, we have to fail,
Mhm.
learn to move forward.
That's right. That's
Jan,
right.
she said she was a physical therapist assistant for 38 years, and all the patients she ever treated, the stubborn ones, always did the best. And I agree with that because I tell people I was told to be put in a nursing home, and fortunately
Gosh.
enough, thankfully enough, that my family and I were stubborn, hard headed, and didn't
Yeah.
listen.
Sometimes,
And
stubborn's good.
sometimes that's correct. Sometimes,
Yeah.
so it doesn't work all the time. And Nancy, at least if you tried, you can say you're done everything is best in trying. So it's better than nothing at all.
That's
So
right.
thank you, ladies, for chiming in here. Thank you. So, all right, now what do you, Bobby? What do you think this stubbornness and determination has helped you stay positive during what the doctors told you? Because I'm one of them that even though you're positive doesn't mean you get through everything going through the rose petal garden, but staying positive can help you avoid some of the thorns.
That's right. And I think it was a huge part of it. And to your point there, because some people have said to me, it was a 10-year journey. Didn't you ever get discouraged? Well, of course you get discouraged, but that doesn't have to be a permanent state. And it's that positive outlook. And I really think I probably owe this to my parents, because as a child, I was diagnosed with severe speech problems. In fact, there was a speech pathologist. I was 5 or 6, and he was at our school, and his diagnosis or prognosis was that I'd never speak correctly. And my mom, when she heard that, we knew I had speech problems. It was that was easy to spot. But she said, Bobby, we're not going to listen to him, because you never let someone else tell you what you can or cannot do. And so we worked alongside of each other for years and years and years. I was actually in my 20s before I stopped thinking of myself as someone with speech problems. And I'm so grateful to my mom, because I think that experience taught me it doesn't matter where you are right now. That's just your present performance. That does not limit what you can do someday. And I really think that I don't know if you want to call it an early introduction to adversity or challenge, but I think it really paid off for me when I was in such a hole that I had to climb out of, because it's like, well, this is just it. I've done this before. You know what I mean?
I like it with your mom. She was basically saying, don't let someone else write
Mhm.
your story.
Yeah.
I learned that from Captain Charlie Plum. He was a prisoner of war during Vietnam time back in the late 60s, early 70s for nearly six
Yeah.
years. And when he got out, the psychiatrists and psychologists would tell all the family members when these prisoners were released to come home. He said they were basically told to be put into institutions they would never adjust to because being the beating, the hunger,
Horror.
starving, yeah, and said their minds would never be. And he said he just didn't accept that someone else would write his story for him. And
I love that.
so that's great that your mother thought that much ahead. Don't let anybody tell you, what to do on that part.
Yeah. And it was very much a part of who my mom was, and that write your own story. I've always loved that. I heard that. Oh my gosh, I was in my 20s and I heard it for the first time, and I thought that is such a powerful notion. Because we either write our own stories or someone else is going to write it for us.
Exactly. Exactly.
And no one
And
else has
you
that much control over my life.
and you may not like the outcome they have for you.
That's right. Or the
So
role that you're supposed to play, or any of that stuff.
exactly, it's right. So all right, Bobby. So you mentioned your mom here. I mean, it sounds like an awesome woman. My mom, she raised three boys basically by herself.
Wow.
Her went to what I call my stepdad. I call him my real father. I never met my real one. They divorced for my first birthday. He passed away when I was 16, and mom raised all of us basically by herself. And so I say moms are the strongest ones out there to lead examples, to give us what we, built in with us to
Yeah.
show us don't give up. So,
Never give
so,
up.
so what other, how is your other support system built around you?
Well, The primary, because we were out in Portland, Oregon, all by ourselves. None of our neither one. We just moved there, and so we didn't have family around us. But I mentioned that my boyfriend at the time, his name's Rick, and he's now my husband. It was right after we got that initial, only the 3% would recover, and I'm 5 years older than Rick anyway. And I remember saying to him, it was the following day. I said, Rick, I know that you didn't sign up for this, and I would totally understand if it's too much, if you want to walk away. We weren't even engaged yet. And he just hugged me and he said, no, he said, we'll figure our way through this together. And so, that was so powerful. And like, we found different things we could do. Like, obviously we couldn't go play tennis or we couldn't go for a run, but what could we do? And sometimes for like the first 18 months, it was, he would help me get in the car and he'd bundle blankets around me and we'd go for a drive. We'd drive to the coast or we'd drive around Mount Hood. And that's all we could do. And it's like, but we'll figure this out together. And I'm laughing because I was always the cook in the family or, because I love to cook. And, we were like a week or two in where I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't even hold a book up. And he brought the phone up to me and he said, okay, he goes, we can't keep eating pasta and hamburgers. He said, you're going to teach me how to cook over the phone. So I had the phone propped up on my pillow next to me and I taught him to cook over the phone. I mean, but it was just like, this is where we are. So we're going to, we're going to make the most of it and we're still going to have fun and we're still going to love each other. And so that was a huge piece. And then even though we didn't have family, we were blessed. We had great friends and some of them brought, over soup or they brought magazines or whatever it was. And then the other thing I'd have to say is I had the naturopathic doctor was amazing. I had a great massage therapist, just people who believed all of my healthcare help, whether it was a massage therapist or the acupuncturist, whatever it was, we all believed in a positive outcome. There was no naysayers on the team. I mean, we knew that it was a journey. It was a tough journey ahead, but no one believed in the negative outcome, if you know what I mean by that.
Oh, yes. And I had an issue a couple of years ago, and I kicked a couple of people out of my life. I didn't have to kick them out forever, but I kicked them out because I needed all positive going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told I had colon cancer. And so, I said, so these negative people, I said, y'all just need to go do your own thing. And not that I kicked them out forever, but I said, I got to concentrate on positive stuff now. Think about me again, be selfish now. And fortunately, when everything was all said and done, 2 tests showed I had colon cancer. When they went in to get ready for surgery and stuff, they found there was no cancer at all.
Oh, thank goodness.
Miracle of God. So,
yeah, but
Jan
you're right.
Jan said she has to get off, but she wanted to thank you, Bobbi, for sharing your story, and she'll come back on the replay.
Nice.
And Jay, thank you. My mom, she did do a great job. And I know your family as well, and know you, and I know your family did an excellent job as well. And we got JD. Hey, JD, thank you for popping in, buddy. So, all right. Go ahead and tell us, finish up here with your and I tell people that, we've got to have the right people in our lives, family wise. Again, I say God knew who my family needed to be before I was even born they've sacrificed so much for me to be successful. So, and then we got those friends that come in and out of lives during chapters over time and everything like that. So, go ahead and tell us more about the healing process and how long did that take? Did it take the 2 years?
Oh, geez. Yes, it did. And it took, that was the first doctor. So then when the second doctor, we'd moved back to Chicago. That was 2006. And once we got the test back and we knew for sure what it was, he's like, okay, this will take another year or so. And I think it took 10 months. But that was when I learned something that was hard. And it was that there's a huge difference between no longer being sick and really being well. Because at that point I had a clean bill of health, which meant all of my I was within range on all the tests. But think about it. I lost all my strength. I'd lost my stamina, my endurance. and because of that, I have arthritis in my spine, which normally isn't a problem because I'm so active. But that kind of spurred up. So I went through physical therapy, and I had to rebuild my strength and really to really become an athlete again. And I remember we moved out here to Colorado in 2010, and the first bike ride I went for was the most humbling experience of my life. I made it a mile, and I thought, I might die. Like, this is hard. But somewhere along the lines, I got this wild idea because I saw these bikers, these cyclists, riding to the top of these mountain passes. And I thought, maybe that could be me someday. And so it was 10 years, almost 10 years to the day. I was about a month shy of it. I decided to celebrate. I was going to challenge myself by riding my bike to the top of Vail Pass. And I came around the one switchback because there's 3 switchbacks as you're getting close. And I came around the third one, the first one. And I thought, if I can do this one, I know I can make it to the summit. And it was amazing. And the one thing I did learn as I was getting really close, because I think it's slightly above 10,000 feet. And I wanted to cry because I was so emotional. But you cannot cry and bike at 10,000 feet because there's not enough oxygen. But and that really celebrated, like, okay, I'm back to being an athlete. So that was, like I say, almost 10 years.
I got to where I would push my wheelchair to go get exercise because I need it. And I had built myself up to 3 miles a day, and I'd go 5 days a week, 3 miles a day. And what you were talking about, one point, it's not the summit like you're talking about, but 3 miles for me, being a quadriplegic, is huge.
It's amazing.
And I would get to a certain point, and I would go, all right, I'm halfway now. I know I can finish. So,
That's
like
right.
I said, when you got to a certain point, and then you knew you got enough to get through there.
Yeah. And the thing about that too is, like, when I first started, when the doctor said you can go out and go for walks again, my first walk was to the end of the driveway, which was like 30 feet. That can be discouraging. And then I made it to the end of the block, which was 4 houses away, and I had to sit down on the curb and like regather my strength. And I remember when I made it to 6 blocks, and it was like, there was a point where it could be frustrating because I thought, well, I used to run every other day, 8 miles. And it's like, it doesn't matter. All that matters now is, what do you do today? What do you do tomorrow? So it doesn't matter. If it was to the end of the block, it was to the end of the block. It was something I could do.
Baby steps and build.
That's right. That's
Baby
right.
steps and build.
I love that.
Nancy, she's got a question here. Did you ever feel at a point, you said you got discouraged some, ever get to a point of giving up? And she even mentioned possibly a suicide, anything like that.
No, I luckily I did not, because I always thought there's hope. And the other thing that, when I mentioned, going out on those walks at first, to the end of the driveway, then to the end of the block, and I always focused on my progress. And I think that's a huge piece of human motivation, right? When we focus on our progress, that provides more hope for us. So I was just always really focused on that. So luckily, when I was discouraged, I just said, hey, this is, of course you feel discouraged, but you don't have to become discouraged, right? There's a difference. You can feel it without becoming it. And I think I was maybe lucky. I don't know.
Her friend Jan had stepped off here. Jan, I'm quoting you when you come back and listen now. Jan her father told her it's okay to visit Pittyville, but it's unacceptable to move in.
Yeah.
And I think getting discouraged sometimes is good for us, because now we can sit and focus. Even though we're discouraged, we're going, well, we did make it 6 blocks this time.
That's right.
And so what if we do 6 blocks for the next week? Then maybe at the end of the week, maybe we can try 6.5.
That's right.
I think it's okay to visit Pittyville to let us really see how far we have really come.
Yeah, I think so. And I love that expression, by the way, Jan. That's awesome. But I think you're right, James, right? We can visit it, and sometimes it does kind of put up that mirror so we can reflect, yeah, but look how far you've come. So I love that.
So, all right, Bobbi, if you can tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, I appreciate you being here, and how maybe they can, if they got questions for you, or if they want to talk to you, maybe they get inspired and motivated by you. maybe they can learn something else more, maybe get you a speaking gig or whatnot. If you can tell people how
Perfect.
to get a hold of you.
All right. Well, they can reach me through the website. It's unyielded.net, and Unyielded is the name of my podcast, which I just started this past summer. And it's, kind of sharing stories of growth and triumph. And because obviously that means a lot to me. And I think there's so many great stories out there and we need to hear them. So unyielded.net, that's one way you can contact me that way. Another great way to stay in touch is through LinkedIn, because I frequently post articles there, and it's just Bobbi Kahler. And I don't know if you want me to spell that out or if you'll just put that in the show notes. Would you rather me spell it?
Put it in. Go ahead and spell it, and I will put it in the show
Okay.
notes.
So it's just Bobbi, no E, and then Kahler, Kahler. And yeah, I post articles there. I post quite a bit, as well as I've done quite a few articles for Training Industry Magazine on coaching, and I share all that through there as well.
And I'm 100%, 1,000% like you. There's a bunch of stories that need to get out there,
Yeah.
especially today. I mean, we
Yeah.
all struggled with this COVID last year. We're still struggling until everything gets figured out. But so much went on for 2020. Well, so glad it's gone past us. So hopefully this year is going to be much better. But yeah, there's tons of people that need to share their story to provide some type of hope, messages for people to continue on with their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's great stories out there, and everybody's got a story. We don't always harvest it. And if we don't harvest it, we can't harvest the wisdom from it.
Amen, sister. I like that. Harvest. We get a harvest. All right. Jay, you know something about harvest? I saw you the other day showing the plants you got growing in your house, getting ready for spring so you get your garden going. So you know about
Nice.
harvesting, Jay. So, all right, Bobbi, well, again, appreciate you being here. If you can leave us one last message, something positive for anybody that's struggling, to hopefully let them, get through today knowing things is going to be all right. If you can give us a positive message.
Yeah. It's something that I've drawn on many, many times in my life. And it's that hope isn't passive. I think that hope is something that we can create for ourselves, and we can kind of create an upward spiral with it. And to me, it begins with recognizing, where do I have choice? Where do I have control? Because there are things we don't have control over, and there are things that we do have control over. And when we focus on those things we do have control over, that's where we get into that a positive state. So it's choice, and then it's find one action. Just find one action that we believe in, and then it's what we talked about earlier. Learn your way forward, which is act, assess, and adapt. And I think when we do that, that's when we create hope. Because to me, and this might just be for me, but I have always found that action is the antidote for despair for myself.
I like, again, your 3-step method: act, assess, adapt. And
Yep,
I have mine that's a little bit different, again, because we're all different.
that's right.
I have what I call the ABCs. A, accept the adversity. B, begin your battle. C, conquer the challenges.
Yeah,
So,
I
all right,
love that.
Bobbi, thank you for being here. You've been an awesome guest. You're going to help again in 100 years from now. They say everything stays on the website. So 100 years from now, someone's going to stumble across this, and you're going to be able to help them. So,
Nice.
thank
That's
you.
my
Thank
hope.
you. But that's definitely my hope as well, for why I'm doing this. So, but thank you for being here. Everyone else, be sure to like, share, do everything. If you know someone struggling today, they may not be going through the adrenaline crush like her, but the message is still the same of hope. So pass this on if you know someone that can use this. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for ones come back for the replay. I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance himself. Thank you for coming to the podcast. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.